Do you have Nick's text, or Nick, his phone? Can you text him and see, because he's not on. right
Okay,
now.
I'll text him.
Okay. I just want to make sure that he's not having any problems.
Should I wait for that, or should we?
There's too much stuff over here.
Should I wait for that and start?
Ask Randy what he would like.
Okay. All right, good afternoon. We are at the Economic Development Committee of the City of Wausau, calling the meeting to order on Wednesday, August 7th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. We have a quorum present. Before we move on to the agenda items, are there any public comments? This is a time that we will accept public comments, 3 minutes. No one here for public comment? Okay. Then moving on, the first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the June 4th and the July 2nd, 2024 meetings. Do we have a motion to approve? Okay, Alder Killian, thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Okay, Alder Hinkie, thank you. Any questions, comments? Okay, then all in favor?
Aye.
Right. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. That motion approved. Moving on to agenda item 2, discussion and possible action on consent to transfer, waiver of right of first refusal, termination of recorded deed restrictions, and recording set of revised restrictions for 8220 Enterprise Drive.
So this is something the Economic Development Committee sees on somewhat a consistent basis. Historically, when the city has sold land within our business campus, there's a set of deed restrictions that goes along with them protecting the city's interests since we're selling the land at a subsidized rate. Part of that historically has always been a clause for a right of first refusal on the land. For some of our senior members on the committee and council, you remember about 2-3 years ago, we looked at the deed restrictions and made some changes to those. Probably most importantly being the no longer a need for the right of first refusal, as long as it's not being sold to a tax exempt entity. So what we're doing is when these requests are coming forward, we're taking that opportunity to update some of these deed restrictions. What you see in your packet is a copy of the proposed new deed restrictions, as well as the existing restrictions that go for the property. The first copy that you see the draft watermark on, those are the proposed restrictions.
So, do we have a motion to approve? Alder Hinkie?
I'll move to approve the consent to transfer, waiving our rights.
Okay, thank you. Second, Alder Killian, thank you. Any questions? None? Then all in favor of approving the consent to transfer, waiver of right to first refusal?
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? Okay, thank you. That motion approved. Moving on to agenda item number 3, presentation and discussion of proposals received for River Life South request for interest. And we had 2, one from T-Wall Enterprises and one from Vanguard Partners. So we have Nick Patterson with T-Wall Enterprises and Mark Lake with Vanguard Partners. So I'm guessing we want to go with T-Ball Enterprises first is listed. Okay, thank you, Mr. Patterson.
Can he hear?
Can you hear us, Nick?
No. Hold on 1 second.
And committee members, did you all get a chance to review the, okay, thanks.
Tell him to See if you can hear.
Can you hear us now, Nick?
I'm just gonna have to keep switching. Because there's so many different ones. Try again.
Nick, can you hear us?
Again.
Nick, can you hear us?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Try this. Try now.
Nick, can you hear us? Technology's great when it works.
Right. Anybody have any clues?
Are you able to hear us, Nick?
Try again.
Can you hear us, Nick? PG Nick Patterson.
Can we try the other person first, or no?
Yeah, if you want,
Yeah,
we
let's-
can switch them around and give you some more time to get that connected.
That'd be great.
Mark, if you want to approach the podium, we'd love to hear about your interest.
Good evening. Mark Lake, 1200 North Mayfair Road, or Wongard's office, 1200 North Mayfair Road, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm the Vice President of Planning and Pre-Development for Wongard. Wongard is thanks for inviting me, by the way. Wongard's a development company, property management company. It's been in business, roughly 25 years or more. I've been with the company for 11 years, helping with them on entitlement and due diligence and retail development. Lately, I've been working on multifamily entitlement, and this project in particular brought up a couple good memories. Not for this site yet, but only because we've done several like this. So, and what I want to do is tell you a little bit about each one of those. And one of them is the reef product, which the buildings that are part of our proposal here up on Fulton First in the River Life area are two buildings that we already have. So it was actually good for us that we were able to use those renderings and the building footprints that were part of that plan for this plan. Essentially, it's a 3-story building on top of a 1-story parking lot, or parking garage, mainly because it was a brownfield site. And we didn't know what was below it. Now, I know this site is closed, and there was some stuff that was on the property stored. We'll want to go through that, of course. And the reef has been a highly successful project. It's still working through a lot of voluntary product liability extensions with the DNR for the reef in Wauwatosa. It's on our webpage. The other one for us is Freshwater Plaza. Freshwater Plaza is another development that we brought into Cermak. It was an old Greedy foundry. Both these sites were Greedy foundries, and we found ways to clean the sites up to the best of our ability and make sure that they were habitable and livable by residents in nice apportioned apartments. And then the third site for us is that it really does for redevelopment is our newest project, which we're working on right now, is our Olympia Field. So if you're down in the Milwaukee area and go throughout Oconomowoc, you see that the ski hill. Well, right in front of the ski hill our former ski hill was a former resort called Olympia. And Olympia Resort back in the day, back in the 70s and 80s, if you will, it was a good place for people to go and people to see. They golfed, they skied, they played polo, they did a whole bunch of things. Well, over years it came into disrepair. We decided to, mitigate the asbestos that was all over the building, take the building down, and now we have 279, I think, new apartments, and those are 2-story walk-ups with individual entrances. Now, Wongard does a lot of things. Wongard does multifamily. They do retail. They do industrial a lot, and lately it's been industrial and multifamily. This site in particular is, like I said earlier, was 3 on top of 1, 3 floors at a minimum. I think the code would not the city code, but state code would allow us to put 4 on top of 1 because there's a concrete podium separating the parking garage and the building. And so right now our plan would be for 135 units in 2 buildings, averaging about $2-ish per square foot in rents. What did I say? Rents were in the 1,500 range. So we would have 2 buildings, 145 per unit. Units per building, and the other one approximately 90. Our average sizes of our units would be 761 square feet. Dave, who Randy has met, has done some extensive research about Wausau, which is a reason why we're here. I have a cabin down on Lake DuBay. We're up here quite often, so I know, Wausau and the things that are up here, and it's vibrant and it's growing, but just like most municipalities, they have need for workforce housing. They have need for the housing that is modern, that provides the amenities that the working public are looking for. And I believe we can do that. It's got the character of the river. It's got the character of the river walk. It's got the character of being on the north side of downtown. So it has everything that we would need in order to develop our property, and then all the extra things that our residents would be looking for. So I'll be sitting down if there's any questions. So thank you very much. Any questions?
Committee members, do you have any questions right now for Mr. Lake? Mr. Henke?
Yeah,
Or Alder Henke?
you mentioned 3 of those projects. Were those all in the Milwaukee area?
The Olympia Fields, so all of them are on our webpage, wangard.com. Olympia Fields is out in Oconomowoc. The Freshwater Plaza is downtown, right where along the KK River area, and that's right where, if you go into Milwaukee and you see the Rockwell building with the largest 4-sided clock, right behind that. I mean, we're right in the shadow of that building. And then the other one is the Reef, which is in Wauwatosa, just off State Street is about a mile north of 94 as it goes east-west, and we're just north of there along the Milwaukee River as well.
Would this be your first project outside the greater Milwaukee area?
No, we actually are working on two projects, one in Plymouth, the other one in Grand Chute. We have other projects around. We have a project, which is one of the reasons why I'm up here at the lake, is I was just over in Chippewa Falls. So the new Festival Foods and Culver's and things and Quick Trip, that's me. We did all that. So we're out and about in the state. We're trying to find new places for our multifamily housing. And Dave's doing the research, and we're expanding our reach into the Madison market. We own a property in Madison. We're developing up in DeForest, and we're buying another property in DeForest to help us build our property management base, so that we have a center so that the leasing agents and our engineers that work on our property maintenance techs have a place to start from and then go to. We would do the same thing up here. Developing this site is 135 units, or at least to start. We would probably look for a project, at least one, to get us over the 250 to 300 base that we would need in order to have a full-time property manager, full-time maintenance engineer on site.
Okay, thank you.
Alder
Question,
Gieselman?
thank you. Is the parking garage below grade?
No, in this case, that's the reason why we specifically picked this, is because it's not. Because we know it's a brownfield site. So if at a minimum, it might be a couple feet below, but the garage in and of itself, the plan that we have is above ground. So because that soil is $65 plus a yard to dispose of. So if we dig it up, it has to go someplace at some dollar amount that we don't want to spend. So putting a building on top of that, that you can't tell from outside, it looks like an irregular apartment, except for there's no doors. They'll have the screen and there'll be cars inside the building.
So Randy, is phase 1 and phase 2 complete on that project, on that site?
Which project are we talking about?
Well, this, are we talking about River,
Oh, are you talking about the brownfield? Yeah.
Right.
So,
I thought we were talking about this site.
yeah, we're talking about this site in terms of where it's at from environmental status.
Right, phase 1 and phase 2?
Oh, yeah. So it's already been closed. We're still working on the River Life Apartments, that specific site and how they're established together. We still need some work with the developer of the River Life Apartments to close that out. There's still some DNR requirements and reporting that needs to be completed specific to that project.
And in order for us to develop on this site, we would have to follow along with that. We would have to, because it's probably considered a landfill, technically, because you filled it in with a little bit of stuff. You took some stuff out and you filled it back in, and it's a dirty site. So the DNR would require, the last page of the closure says continuing obligations. And it says if you open this site up again, you have to ask for permission to move the soil. So we would go and work with Randy and the city on making sure all of those things, the new soil management plan was done, opening it up and making sure that we follow all the requirements.
Yeah, and I believe we had all the requirements, or really all the status update within the RFI that went out
Right.
that the developers were able to see and check in on.
So, so I thought there was is there some utilities underground here, I thought, going across the river? I thought that
Correct.
was a problem
Yeah.
with the earlier developments.
Yep, so I don't know, Shannon, if you can pull up the map that was included in the RFI, but it lays out where the existing utilities are. One of the things that Public Works is looking at in engineering, they were working with Becker Hoppy on that previous water main that crosses the river, and Eric's in the back of the room if you have any questions on it. But they were able to look at that and determine that we should be able to remove that if it works for the development. And that's something I talked about with the Vanguard team about the potential of that. We haven't worked out details, obviously. Proposals have just been in for a couple of days, but there's the possibility of removing that pipe and giving them some more access to the site, especially on the southern end.
Yeah, if you look at our site, so what we did is we picked two of our buildings, the ones that actually work well for us. It's a 90-unit building and it's a 45-unit building that would fit into the, I would guess, the western and the northeastern sections where it says preliminary. The area south of it where it says proposed 40-foot water main, that for us, that would be either green space or parking or whatever. Would it be better if we could have that go away? Yes, we would probably have a different building then. And it might be more linear instead of L-shaped, if that were the case. But we know of the fiber optic line, the one that the other water main, and then the 40-foot water main easement that's deep. So.
And really, the intent of the process that we're working through is looking for a developer, and then once we're able to work with them a little bit further refine their site plan through the planning option process. And then we would come back forward, they would go through their site plan approval and development agreement like we do with the other developments. Terry.
Alder Killian.
Thank you. Randy, I wanted to ask you, I noticed in their proposal that they said they would like us to give them a prepared site for development related to DNR, so has that all been done?
That's what we'll work through and make sure that everything's closed out. And we've got time as the process goes on here. They're looking to start construction would be, I would guess sometime hopefully next year around this time, hopefully. So we'll have time to continue to work with the DNR and make sure that we can provide them with a site or at least an understanding of what needs to be done. We can work together on that.
Okay, and then I have a question for you, sir. Should this move forward, you had asked that the city be, if you move forward with this and purchase that property for development, that the city be responsible if you have foundational problems or anything like that. If this is going to be a garage, and you're not going down, why would those problems exist? And why would the city need to be concerned about being responsible for those kinds of things?
Well, one, we would certainly do our own geotech on the property, making sure that wherever we're going to put foundations, wherever we're going to put any structural elements on the property, we would verify. You know, it all comes down to whether or not a building is going to survive a problem, you know, and so we're just hedging our bets on liability, wanting to make sure that it's a safe site. It was more for making sure that the everything environmentally was removed. And so far as I can tell, I went and looked at the BERT site on the DNR's page, and, you know, it's 2 pages worth of work that was started a long time ago, that was finalized several years ago, but there's recent correspondence about what to do with the soil, where to put the soil. Well, we want to make sure that we have a clean site and we're not digging anything up, because we still have, even though it's basically slab on grade, we still have to put the foundations that support, and those will go down 4 to 8 feet depending on where they are, and we don't want to hit anything that we shouldn't, that would require DNR involvement or anything else. So, you know, we need to work with the city to make sure that it's a clean and stable and constructible site.
I would think that all of that would be done prior to your beginning.
Oh, yeah.
The thorough inspection. So once you
Absolutely.
begin,
Yeah.
there shouldn't really be any issues like foundational
Yeah.
problems or,
Correct, and that's my role. My role at Vanguard is pre-development planning, you know, working with Randy and the staff, and making sure that we know where everything is. I mean, we just got your RFI, we're responding to your RFI. You know, if we're successful with this project, that's when everything that I do starts happening. That's when I download all the DNR information to make sure all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed. That's where I look at, I've already called the Public Works and asked about those water mains and the fiber optic, you know, what can be done to making sure that that their easements are not in a problematic location, making sure our buildings can fit on the site, making sure that we have proper setbacks in the big picture. Then we'll get detailed very, very tight. Well, Randy and I will be good friends. Right now, he's good friend with Dave, but Randy and I will be good friends.
okay, thank you, sir.
Sure.
And this is, you know, speaking of the environmental, you know, almost every property that we look at redevelopment, we're dealing with some type of environmental issues and contamination. On this will be no different. And there'll be some communication with the DNR as well as the developer to make sure that they're comfortable with the site, what they're doing, and we're comfortable, DNR is comfortable.
Other questions? Counselor Gitzwin?
So then, Randy, again, at this point in time, we really don't know the city's obligation with regard to pre-planning, so to speak, because there's a lot of work yet to be done. So the city may have an obligation yet into the future that we really don't know about today.
Yeah, I mean, what happens in the future, you know, I don't have a crystal ball either.
Well,
but
right, but I think we go into this knowing that there's maybe some city, you know, I think that's
Yep.
something that we should be aware of, that there may be a city obligation down the road, and that we should at least be aware that we really don't know at this point in time what that is.
Yeah. You know, any redevelopment of this property, it would be the same, we would be following a similar path on it. So whether it's this developer now, another developer now, or something in the future, we're gonna have to address those concerns. Really, this is the first step in the process, is choosing which developer we want to work with. Then they would go out and do that due diligence. We'd work with them on site plan and all those other pieces till we get to the development agreement stage. From there, then we go on to construction. It's, as you know, from being around for a while, it's not something that happens overnight. There's a lot of steps to the process.
thank you. Other questions?
Well, I'll ask another one then. Why was this explain the difference between the RFI and the RFP on this issue? This was a request for, can you explain why this was RFI rather than RFP?
Yeah, so what we tried to do at this time, we've heard from different developers in the past that the RFP process is quite time-consuming, quite expensive for them to go through without any idea if they're going to get the project in the end. So we're hoping that by going through this process that we would open it up and get a larger developer pool with interest in the site. They wouldn't have to put as much resources and time into coming up with a proposal, and also leave it open that we're able to work with them through this process to find something that fits the community and what we want.
Alder Gisselman.
That raises.
I'm sorry, Alder Killian.
It's okay, I knew you were looking at me.
I was looking at you.
Anyway, one more question. You talked about community needs. It doesn't relate to the developer, but have we had any public input about this?
I'm not familiar with all the different, I know on the development to the River Life area, there's been a number of different public input that's gone into it. Nothing specific to this site that I'm aware of in my time here.
Do you know if that would be planned?
I don't know what the plan is and how we would go through that at this point, honestly. But, you know, it's something that we can work with the developer on to find the best way to incorporate that into the final design.
All right, thank you.
Any others? And I'm guessing that part of that may be with the transition with ED, the director, and is that, I mean, part of, I don't know, but I'm just guessing. So if that impacts that or not. But any questions that I've had that you've asked, anyone else have further questions at all? If not, we'll be hearing from T-Ball Enterprises, and then we'll be moving into closed session to further discuss this. No? Okay, thank you, Mr. Lake.
Sure.
And we'll see if we have
Can you still hear?
Nick Pat. Can you hear us, Nick?
Yes, I can hear you. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Nick.
Oh, yeah, good. Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, I'll try to keep this brief. So we have experience dealing with sites along the water, dealing with contamination, where we have continued obligations with the DNR over at the Foundry on Third site. So we have the track record to create a successful development here. But with that being said, I do want to be forthright and want to maintain a long-term partnership with the city and let you know that our top priority right now is construction of Foundry on Third and the mall redevelopment. We can commit to working with the city upfront to create a plan for the property, something that mutually beneficial that we both agreed to and envisioned for the riverfront property. Timeline construction would likely occur within 2 to 3 years. And if this timeline doesn't work for the city, no hard feelings, we completely understand. Again, I just want to be upfront with you about it. And then if the city would choose not to select a developer, we'd be open to a discussion on the property, but available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions, committee members? None? None from me either. I think it was pretty clear, so, anything else, or we just go ahead? Okay, thank you so much for that. Then if there are no questions, we will be moving on to closed session. Agenda item number 4, does anyone want to make a motion, and read the closed session? Motion in full? Okay, Alder Hinkie.
I'll make the motion, we go into closed session pursuant to 19.85 sub 1 sub E of the Wisconsin statutes for deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investment of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. relating to review and recommendation of proposals received for River Life South request for interest.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay, thank you, Alder Gisselman. So motion and a second to move into closed session. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. No opposition, then we will move into closed session to discuss this. Excuse me? Oh,
Just you asked for the
any
note.
opposition?
I think that has to be a roll call.
Yeah, it should be a roll call.
Oh,
Roll
I'm sorry.
call vote.
Okay, roll call vote. Okay. Do you do that or do I?
You do.
Oh, I do. Okay, so okay, so do I have to go in order of the districts? Okay, Alder Killian?
No.
Okay, Alder Gisselman?
Aye.
Alder Henke?
Aye.
And for myself, aye.
All right, we'll go into closed session.
So we will go into closed session. Thank you.